And again, I welcome you on our meeting today, our art and science meeting, in both terms, meeting at the meeting, and also that we created a space where art and science could meet. I'm Anna Smolarova. I am a researcher myself. I was doing migrant research for more than 10 years for now. And I'm also a co-curator of this exhibition that is on current display in Jerusalem. And just a couple of days, you can see it in Jerusalem. On Monday, on 15th July, we are going to have our finissage, a special event in Hebrew that I'll tell you in the end of our meeting today. And we have today very beautiful panel of speakers, starting with Vira Gailis, who is the co-curator and the main curator of this exhibition, who is a wonderful curator, an artist herself, and also a researcher of Israeli art, who is giving constantly wonderful lectures, very deep lectures about Israeli art, and also mentoring young artists, Israeli artists, Hebrew-speaking artists, and last 2 years also Russian-speaking artists in the beginning of their careers or in the midst, somewhere in the crisis of their careers. Together with Vera, we invited 3 different science fields to be present today, starting with Boris Masterov, who is responsible for psychology, responsible, you know, in so to say, who has great experience in working with trauma, not only PhD in psychology, but also for over than 40 years of psychological consultations and therapy. And since the exhibition is connected with and organized together with NGO called Nefashot, so psychological health and psychological issues of new immigrants, new repatriants, Olim Hadashim, was in the middle of the angle in the core of our exhibition. And since we are talking about repatriation and migration, we invited 2 prominent speakers from the field of sociology and anthropology. Varvara Preter is doing now her doctorate, and she's writing a thesis almost finished and already published several articles about the very last wave, we have very last and we have last wave, the last wave of immigration of Russian-speaking new repatriants, 2010s and 2020s. She's doing her doctorate at Beersheva Ben-Gurion University. So greetings, Varvara, greetings from Beersheva from me. And she has her PhD in cultural studies and wrote a lot about McLuhan's works on Medium is the message. So I look forward to hear some quotes probably from McLuhan also today, not only about your recent research on aliyah. And Nica Kostenko is also going to join us. She has PhD in sociology. She was a dean of sociology in St. Petersburg before she moved to Israel. And now she is doing her postdoc in Tel Aviv University. And she is initiator and part of the huge research project done voluntarily that is called OutRush, and it's dedicated to get all possible sociological data about last wave of immigration from Russia also to Israel since 2022. So that are our speakers today. You see the possible connections. I hope we will talk today not only in a monological way, but we will also have some discussion between our speakers. And first, I give the floor to Vira Gailis. Before I ask questions to our beautiful speakers, I ask Vera to present the project in general and to tell us a little bit about the idea of the exhibition, of the exhibitions probably, because it's a series of exhibitions. Vera, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello guys. Thank you, Anna, for introducing me. You did it amazing. As Anna told, it's the series of exhibitions, not the one, just the projects ongoing. And as for now, we did 2, and other, at least 3, are in different stages of planning. With different points we are showing there from the big topic. The other thing I wanted to mention that the unique point of this project is that we all understand it's not the first exhibition and not first show on this topic, but as I know previously, it was all like meetings between New Olim and the public of New Olim in the venue of New Olim, just something then Israeli people even never knew that these happenings are happening.
Raise your hands behind your head and open your elbows. Slant your upper body.
Sorry, Anna, can you... there is some noise. Can you mute, please? But or it was like big exhibition, like the huge show for Zoe Cherkassky in Israeli Museum, and it present the topic from the view of established artists, like a couple of decades in Israel, and it's amazing. It's important. It was the huge event in Israel, and other exhibitions that I knew in the museum with established artists were like big events, but it wasn't the fresh experience. It was not the fresh view. It was something different. But here we want to we also include some artists like Luba that is here, that she came to Israel as a young girl, like 20, 30 years ago, and some other people with showing this side of story. But most of the participants are just for the latest years, newcomers in Israel, and they experience all this stuff we are talking about now. But we are doing an effort to extend the audience for to the Hebrew speaking and Hebrew reading press, and we yet have some publications. We are inviting you. We are doing it with the Nefashot Initiative, the amazing organization with 2 beautiful women that are not new immigrants. They were born in Israel, but they are bringing their audience to the show, that this is something new, and it's important in science to make something new, one small new step. This is what we are trying to do. The last point that I want to mention in introduction is that it's a multidisciplinary event. We are yet with Nefashot making some literature meetings there with the audience, and on the opening, on the second exhibition, it was also the poetry readings. And if you see in the catalog, is inside. We're thinking about more expanding it. I will not make spoilers in the next stations, but this is also an important point, that we are going really wide with all the places that can be relevant for this topic. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Vera, for this introduction. A very last note I would like to mention. The exhibition includes not only art pieces as we used to, like pictures, naturemorts or portraits. It also includes some pieces from real stuff from Ulpan, from artists who draw drawings. We have, for example, Devils from Ulpan that I loved very much. When we discussed with Vera which language we choose for this art and science talk, well, we decided for English, because it's not only a uniting platform for us, like for me, for example, who is still learning Hebrew, and Luba and Vera, who are living in Israel for a long time and speak perfect Hebrew, but also it's a scientific problem of language. If the exhibition is about pressure, new repatriants suffer, and on the opening, we told a lot about suffering with Hebrew. But there is another discussion of suffering with English as scientific language, as global scientific language. It's a huge discussion about discrimination and disadvantages of those who are not native English speakers in science. So just to make it also like it's an elephant in the room that we tried to make open and visible with the exhibition. But I also wanted to start, as Vera told us, it will be a performance. It will be like a happening. Here we have the scientific talk in English when none of our speakers, they all speak English well, but it's not our native language, but we have to speak English because we are scientists. So it's also another, like another part of the coin, in another part of the coin. I suggest we move to our first question. And my first question is to our three scientific speakers. I suppose we could start probably with Varvara Preter, because you are studying immigration in Israel. Then we move to more global Russian-speaking immigration wave to Nica Kostenko. And then I ask Boris to comment in general on the psychological, to sum up probably some, like from the more narrow view to the more global, more human and universal view. So I asked, it's a pity we are sitting online, but it also gives us possibilities. However, because we cannot see the exhibition itself, and not to ask our speakers to go and visit, we asked to have a look into the catalog. And let me start with the question, what did you find familiar, very familiar, when you studied the catalog, because you saw exactly what you usually see in your research? Probably some statements, probably some experience, probably some phenomena. And let's start, Vara, floor is yours.
First of all, I want to say that I appreciate this opportunity and thank you very much. I was really interested in looking at this catalog, and it was really a journey full of some insights and even some strong feelings which I get from this. But I thought about these questions, and what I need to say that what I saw familiar to the field of study anthropology of migration, it is the topic of belongings and positionings and identities, which are represented here in this pieces of work, because we see a lot of works which are devoted to trying to manage these complex belongings when a person, an immigrant or aliyah Hadash or repatriant, feels that he belongs both to his home country and to his host country. And I think that going to Masha McLuhan, that the technique of collage is very the technique of collage is very suitable here, because it is really the story about the medium as the message. Because when we are immigrating, we face with this collaging of our identity. Our identity is not something homogeneous, but it consists of different pieces. And when we see how an artist combine various parts of newspapers, of magazines, his writings from Ulpan and his photos, his drawings. It is really very sounds close to what we are writing in our anthropology studies, in our ethnography studies, or even it is even very close to things which I write in my autoethnography, because I wrote a lot of autoethnography about me being from Russia, living in Israel, and how I find myself here, if I Russian, if I Israeli, if I Jewish, or if I anything else. So I think that this part about identities is a very it is a common thing between science and art. What I want to say.
Thank you very much. And it's also interesting that it will be part of my second question, this autoethnographic part, because the exhibition itself is really autoethnographic, autobiographic in a very sense. Nica, can I give the floor to you? Would you continue, please?
Yeah, sure, thanks. And thanks for getting us together, because I think it's important to discuss how people, like, now as I study this big migration wave from Russia, I see that a lot of effort is put by scholars and by activists to prove that these people are not Putinists and they're not of a threat to the receiving societies. And this takes a lot of effort because this is very important, because many people and many governments are very scared by this new huge wave of people. And it's very hard to realize for many that these people are actually not Russians who support Putin, but on the contrary, these are those who would run away. But I don't think that enough effort is made to show the inner life of these people and show troubles that they face. And actually, they do face quite a lot of trouble, quite a lot of grief, and quite a lot of sense of loneliness, which is very evident from the catalog of this exhibition, because the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of like in-betweenness, the feeling of being lost in between the languages and lost in translation, lost in between these words is very evident. And I know from the interviews I'm taking for like almost 2 years now, we've collected over 600 interviews with the immigrants, and it's a very common trait for people who immigrated throughout the world, that they share the same feeling that when you have to switch to an absolutely new language, you feel as if you're a toddler. You're unable to share your deeper thoughts. You're unable to share your professionalism with your colleagues. You feel very stupid. You feel very awkward, and it's like the language thing is, I think, a lot is being told in this exhibition about picking up a new language. I think it's really very important. Of course, English helps us. You're right that English for many is just a means of communication in any country, and we know that many people keep going. So they're real nomads because they haven't chosen the place where they would stay for longer. And that's why English is a means of communication in any environment. But still, a decision to learn a totally new language is a very important decision. It's very hard for many people. And I mean, it's a transformative experience. And I think this transformation is very well seen in these pieces of art. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's very interesting that you mentioned toddlers as an image of how do we feel. And I just want to mention that the toddler was the youngest age of visitors on our exhibition, at least at the opening. So it's kind of a metaphor that goes live and stays with us. But we, both of you, Varvara and Nica, you told about feelings and emotions. And I would probably even exaggerate my question to you, Boris. Can we in general say that migration is always a trauma? So what does psychological science say about migration as experience? We heard a lot about experience, like people, researchers know from people, but what do psychological science says about it?
Okay, it's not exactly a psychological science view on this, but let me tell you the view of psychologists as practitioner. What I see among immigrants and other people, and what is similar. In trauma experience and immigration experience, and it's very similar. And I would like to talk about the construction of identity. That's a very interesting point, and colleagues talked about it, about the identity. It's very important. Look. Well, one of the things, one of the very important point of identity is the dimension of chronos and topos, time and place. And you can see almost in all pieces I saw in catalog, almost in all pieces, there is no future. The inner construction, this inner time lost the wholeness. It's exactly like in trauma experience. You know, trauma experience, and people say usually before the war, after the war. And before the trauma experience and after the trauma experience. And almost in all cases, the person perceived his experience before the trauma as one life, it's another life, and I was another person. Now I am a different person, and there is no future. So, it's a construction of this chronos picture inside people, very typical for trauma. Very typical for trauma. And you see one of the very vivid, another thing that it's that shows similarity between trauma and immigration or relocation, I don't know. The work of Andrei Shilaev. It's another thing. You remember this picture of the house, empty house, and the poetry on the road. And the author moves back side front from the house. You remember it, from the house. And emigration in this turbulency, especially in turbulent circumstances, it's like movement back side front. Not upside down, but back side front. You move back to the back forward. You looked to the past, and you don't see what is there. It's very typical for trauma. It's very typical. The person can hate Yes, that's it. That's it. Can hate his past, but he tries to. But he is what is his now and what is his past, and nothing what he is in the future. And it's a very traumatic chronotope inside, in the inner picture of the world, in the identity of the person. If you don't have future in this picture, you are suffering very much. Then about now, what we can see in the catalog, almost all pictures, all works, you can see fragments. Now is broken into fragments. There is no wholeness, is what is in present. There is no wholeness inside. There is no wholeness outside. And if you don't have wholeness, the things are losing their meanings. And you can see, and you can see the works when you see buildings, but empty buildings, and maybe it's not these things are not buildings at all. It's very strange buildings. So the things without meanings. So this broken apart soul, self, and there is no meaning outside. It's very traumatic. It's very traumatic picture, and it's very typical for trauma experience. The construction of this inner perception of myself. Let's say. Then.
Thank you.
Then go back to this Chronos and Topos. You can see the works naming map, even like map. It's broken, my soul, myself, broken apart in the space. You remember these works? Let me find it. Let me find this map.
Yeah, I think it should be by Masha Neverova. We have several maps. We have a map with Ukraine, but I think you're mentioning this one.
I saw two maps, and your soul, your personality, is broken apart in this map. And if there is no wholeness in space, there is no wholeness inside. It's very important. For example, in trauma, in sharp trauma state, the first 3 questions you should you must ask the person who is in trauma is 2 things. So, how come you are here to restore his space picture? The second, I am with you, the connection with other people, and to say you can you move from this place to another place to restore his ability to be a subject of his own activities. And so is the same thing in the pictures. You're in the pictures, you are broken apart. You remember this, it's not a language problem. You remember the picture of the body and goof. And the name of parts of the body, but it's only parts of the body, but it's not my wholeness. When I speak Hebrew, and when I learn how called in Hebrew parts of my body, I cannot get in touch with my body. They are broken apart. So these works are very, very bright reflection of trauma states. There are some other things we can see. For example, your work, Anna, when only clothes, and where is the person? You know your work. And so you get rid of your own role identities, your clothes, and now you are naked. And where you are, you cannot say.
It's very interesting experience, you know, to get a comment on my own work. I've done it at the very beginning when I moved to Israel within our course with Vera. And probably it's a nice place, you know, I have I'll raise a following question, and again we'll make a round. But before it, I would like to ask Varvara and Nica to react to this point about absence future. Did you have the same feeling from the works? Because I saw you reacting on video, and I thought you probably will argue or probably will rather agree. What do you think on it? What's your impression? Both options are possible. I'm just interested in hearing from you on this moment.
No, what about trauma? I want also to stand here because I think that we working with immigrants, interviews with the text in digital environment, we all face with something which can be framed as, I'm not a psychologist to say if it is trauma in the sense of psychology, but people use it in their narratives, and it is a trigger, it is a starting point for a lot of discussions about identity and all these things. About future, I think that when we are doing interviews and when we are facing with what people write in their vernacular way in a digital environment, we can face with different images of the future. And one is exactly which Boris is depicting, the understanding that we do not see our future, everything is broken, the connection of time is broken. But there are some other different images which we can take from interviews, from what people think about their plans. But it is a difference between art and interviews with people, because I don't think that when we have something very organized, very planned, that we would create about it our piece of art, piece of art. So I don't think that there is any in correlance in this, but it is a difference of study of from the difference between anthropology and art. Okay.
Yeah, so it's I see, Boris, I just give you the floor, just to comment. So kind of art exaggerates shouting of pain,
Yes,
so to say. And also
Yes,
it's about choice, what we artists choose to share. Boris, please.
Yes, when you talk to person, the person can rationalize his thoughts, self-concept, and all the stuff. But the central point is the identity and the wholeness of the identity. Because, for example, when you're refugee or alim or aliyah come to Israel, there is a lot of helpers try to help. Very often, especially in cases with refugees, they meet some resistance. Very interesting. A lot of people want to help them. People want to help to rent the apartment, to go to the bank with them, and so on and so on. But they very even forget that they go to the bank.
Boris, sorry for interrupt. I think it's something with your might be that that's something with your with the sound.
Anna, it's the other participants.
In the other participants, just a second.
Everyone.
Yeah, just a second. And just a second. Okay. So could you then, Boris, can you make, yeah, now it's wonderful. Vera, thank you very much.
Recording stopped.
I think it's
sorry, it was my internet.
Anna.
it was my internet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, online gives us many possibilities, but also several problems. Let me restore. Yeah, the recording is ongoing. Yeah, recording is ongoing. Sorry again, but I hope now it will be okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. And,
I think this interrupted. Well, yes, you were interrupted, and then Nica would like also to comment some.
Oh, okay. Now it's okay, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want and what you must do, what is good for you and what is bad for you. And the first coping strategy is restore identity. And it's not always very functioning cope strategy in restoring identity. You need to make new to create new identity. That's the problem, and that's the task for the immigrant. If you try to restore your past identity, it doesn't work.
Okay. Nica, probably your comment on future and trauma, whether you met it in the interviews with people not in Israel, if you've done also just again broader picture.
Yeah, so actually in the surveys we see that at the very first moment, and I've just checked that many of these works have been done in the very first moment. after immigration. Say many of them are of year 2022 and 23. So it's a very immediate reaction, right? An immediate reaction is, of course, a shock for many people, though many people have told us that leaving Russia was a liberation for them. They felt it as something they've planned to do for a long time, they've expected to do, they wanted to do, and they still feel really scared, and they shrug when they dream or think that they had to stay in Russia. So it may be a very liberating experience, I must tell you. And especially for people who had been in vulnerable groups who couldn't have had expressed themselves, for example, LGBT people in Russia. But still, of course, I mean, not all the people frame it as trauma, no. Not all the people frame their current emotional situation as depression, not at all. But of course, some kind of shock is very, very common. And that's why you have all these soups of letters, which you see in several pictures, because it all mixes together. It's very hard to make people's ways through all these new experiences. But what we see in the survey is that after half a year at maximum, things start to change. People stop thinking about their past and start building their future. So they say that their horizons are widening and their planning is not as short as it used to be, because when they just arrive, they say we plan for like a week or 3 weeks. Then later, because we actually track the same people. We have a panel survey when we track the same people. So they say that after half a year or year at maximum, they feel better and they realize that now they have half a year or a year in front of them, sometimes even 5 years, which is amazing as compared to, say, 1 week. So they have a horizon, they are planning something ahead. Some people are buying apartments, some people are putting some efforts into learning languages, finding good jobs, starting businesses. And like what I've also mentioned, there is a gender dimension of that. So we've mentioned that for Russian women, it takes somewhat longer to start looking into the future. They're closer to 1 year as compared to men who normally need, say, half a year to start, like to turn their head to the future. We think it might be connected to the female role in very patriarchal Russian society, where women had to care much more about the elderly, about their friends. So they've been involved in care way more than, say, men. And for this reason, when they're torn out of the society, these holes which are left on the place where they've been are much more evident, and a lot more people feel that they kind of suffer because these women left. But still, even women, after a year, they start seeing new opportunities, developing their new skills, learning new hobbies, kind of, it is an emancipative experience for many, but at first it's very hard to see due to stress, of course.
Thank you very much for this.
Something,
Yeah, Vera, of course.
Something important point in this exhibition, there are participants not just Russian speaking, just for the general picture. For example, here we see Helen Borovsky she's Olymp from Australia, and in also Ukraine and Belarus, like couple of participants, and in the previous one we had participants from Poland, France, England, and Argentina. And this is just to point that we as we see, it's interesting, and we've seen it was amazing meeting when we, the work of Helen Borowski. We see the soup of Hebrew letters, and the soup of Natalia Marginalia from Russian are almost the same, and they never meet each other. And also Natalia is new in Israel a couple of years, and Helen is up to 10 years. But we see the same pattern from both women, from the different parts from the globe, but the same experience inside.
Vera, can I ask you also to tell us a bit more about, because as we said, we had 2 exhibitions, Nomadic Souls, and I know that the curatorial principle you followed when you choose first for the Nomadic Souls singular plural was kind of different from this one, from the current exhibition. The autobiography, that it's still subjective experience, is the common between exhibitions, but what is different?
Okay, so I will start from the beginning when Sivan, that it's presented here with the Nefashot picture from the organization Nefashot, came to me and suggested to make the exhibition on this topic. We did the open call, and we got more than 100 applies. That it's a lot. So then it was the 7th of October and everything stops. And then I started to, in couple of months later, I got some invitation from the place to host us, and I started to look at the thing. And first I was thinking about trauma, what told Boris, and all the experience of being not satisfied and frustration. And in the first exhibition we showed a lot of processes, like we see that people are dealing with all these feelings, like going back to their homeland. We had some projects when people living in Israel yet and going back to Belarus to show who they are, or the woman making the doll houses, the copy of her apartment with all the, you know, the New Year tree and everything, and all the books of Tolstoy, Dostoevsky she has on your face, but just in small one, and like many of these. Or also it was the important point for me when I meet from all this 100 applies, I meet Luba. She is with us. And Luba, she is an amazing person, an advocate, the lawyer, and the writer, and mother, and my dear friend now. And she has very sad story. Maybe we will let her, or I will tell it really shortly. They made aliyah like 30 years ago, and on the first 10 years it was really difficult for them to keep the new life. And her father, when he was fired from his job, finished his life by himself. And what can be bigger tragic event than this? But Luba took her trauma in her hand, and she was moving in her life and telling her story. And then she became also the part of the TV show on the topic, the Generation 1.5, and the screenplay in the Setter, and so on. And she also have some magazine about her story and her father, and we showed it in the previous exhibition. I hope we will do with Anna also the catalog like this from the previous one and send you later. It was we are doing our best, but we can't do everything. But I hope we will find capability to do this. Yes, and when I meet the story of Luba, and also I've seen the works from different people, I've seen the importance of community on these first steps, first years, and even first 10 years that you are still alone in this new place and you having different troubles. And we showed also some works about this. I will not mention because we cannot see it now. We don't have the catalog, and it was the name being singular plural that is from the French philosopher Jean-Luc Nancy, that he's in one of his books that it's singular plural is about be the same, the person and community. And in the modern world, we are cannot be just person. We are also community, and it's important. And it's more important for not to let happen the things that happened to Luba's father. So this was the first one, and it was about very general experience. And then like I like academical approach. I did master's in Tel Aviv University in art history, and I understood that I need to go deeper, and I need to make it in next year. And I'm working to find the place, and the other one will be about religion issues and coming from the mixed family and how it affects our identities. And I want to finish my speech on this, that I'm excited and touched of this discussion. And I hope Anna will not leave me, and we will continue to bring these topics and this project to the academic audience, because it's insightful. This is the invitation for the exhibition, and we see the work of the artist from Argentina. That is many years in Israel, but she was on the gallery talk, and she told that I'm still living both countries, both political issues, both problems from Argentina and from here, and the same as us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my internet today just hit in Beersheba. We have almost 40 degrees, so I suppose internet is weaker than we people. However, in this combination of, well, Vera and I and those who go into exhibitions, we have this in mind that we had 2 exhibitions. However, you, our invited speakers and guests who had a chance to see the catalog in the morning, you only saw the catalog of the second exhibition. And I wonder, it's it's a choice of artists what to talk about when you submit a picture or a work for an art exhibition. Do you feel blind spots? Something that you know from your experience as researchers that is very important for migrants and for repatriants, but it is absolutely not present, just like you were surprised you didn't find it in the exhibition, and vice versa. Probably you saw something that you constantly think why this topic is not well researched, why people in the science do not talk about it. So if you have some examples, you probably could give us ideas for next exhibition, or make us feel proud that we discuss something scientists do not discuss. who is eager? I don't know who. In this case, I'm not going to
before
give
guys
first.
will start. I will send now to chat the presentation for the first exhibition. You can take a look. It's not with the full description like you have in catalog, but it still have most of the works, and you can take a look if you want.
And when the catalog will be ready, we can send you also.
Yes.
For all people who registered, we can send it.
1 second. Do you see the link? Yes, I think in the chat. This is the link.
Okay, so blind spots, both in the exhibition and probably in your research field, in your practice.
I can say.
Vara?
I thought about it also a lot. And what I want to say is that it is a commonplace in immigration studies today that we speak about a lot of immigrants, particularly from developed countries, from middle class, that the immigration is transnational migration. What does it mean? It means that immigrant does not move from one national container to another. It doesn't mean that he was, I don't know, Russian, Australian, French, Ukrainian, and then once and he's Israeli or any other or have any other identity. And due to digital technologies, now we can we can live in one country and have a lot of connection with our home country and even with other countries where a lot of immigrants from our home country exist. And from my point, when we study immigrants from Russia and Israel, contemporary immigrants from Russia in Israel, we see that they are very connected to agenda, to news from Russia. They participate in different protest activities devoted to agenda of their home countries. They protest against war in Ukraine and also immigrants from Ukraine. They participate in some activities around elections. They have their opinion about politics of their home country. And I think that it works not only with immigrants from Russia and Ukraine, also with immigrants from Australia, from USA, from Poland, and from all over the world.
Okay, thanks.
In the struggle of identities, it was the point from which I started today, that there is a lot of colleges of identities. That we see that artists reflect on their of connection of their different various belongings and identities. But as a social scientist, as anthropologist, I didn't see. But maybe it is not the idea of this exhibition. I didn't see how they reflect on the actual political and social agenda of their countries. I saw about Ukraine. I saw this map of and this wounded body. And I think that it was maybe the only one, or maybe something, but I think that it was the only one connection to this transnational to this agenda. But I don't speak about sufferings, about losing house, or about. I speak about political sphere of this belonging and this transnational connection. And I think that maybe it could be mentioned as this empty spot in this landscape. And when we presented in this exhibition, I thought a lot about this soup of letters and about language because there are studies of how people study Hebrew, but they have, I think, two main dimensions. One dimension is instrumental, how studying of Hebrew helps people to integrate, find work, and is a study of the language itself, how Russian or Ukrainian language influences on Hebrew, how Hebrew influence on Russian. For example, how people start to using Russian speech words from Hebrew, such as mazgan, the beseder. But it is not the study of what is presented here in the exhibition, because here we see the language is a very important landscape environment, and how people are engaged in this environment, how they struggle with language. It is very interesting, and I attention in academic in academia for such a study would be very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, and you see, we miss a linguist here, actually. I thought about it. I couldn't organize as a linguist to participate in a short term. But I thought about it that we needed a linguist who could also tell us something about the language, since the exhibition is about also the language issues. But it's very complimentary, you know, to hear such a comment, really. Nica?
Yeah, thank you.
continue?
I would sharpen a little bit what Varvara is saying, but I totally agree. I miss the war here. I miss the Israeli war and the whole Palestinian situation and the whole Gaza issue. And there is only one picture by Natalia Rosenbaum, as Varvara mentioned, about the Russian-Ukrainian war. And this amazes me a lot. So it seems to me that we're sitting back in, say, 2013 or somewhere. Because, like, how can it be that people who are immigrating right now because of the war, many of them, and all of them into the situation of the war, they're still, you know, their works are mostly still about their inner, you know, like, inner struggle with the language and with
Can I
timing.
answer?
And yeah, it's
Most
yeah,
of
sure.
most of the
Yeah.
artists from here are in touch with me, and I have the other project that's called The Shelter, and it's just about war in Ukraine, and in here it's just like 25 artists deeply into the war, and mostly the same people. Just it's
Yeah, okay. So it is just a matter of collecting just a different topic. Okay. Yeah, but this was, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting that also how it's can be readable from the catalog, the absence that the war is an external struggle. So when we ask people about inner struggles, they do not answer war. So when we make this angle, the war became an external factor. So we have one from Svetlana Rudikova, she is Ukrainian. We have a comics about war. And we also had a story, it's a very small publication here, but it was present in 3 pictures made by Kate Finkelstein. These Chronicles of Escape. It's a reflection of what war done to Russia, and about the language. Again, like a language focus.
And also the work of
yeah.
Wojciechowski, that he is showing the process that it's like directly the result of the war, that she is meaning that this is the special escape.
But I want now, like, stop apologizing because I just felt like we started defeating. No, it's not the idea. Why? Let me sharpen that. Why it's understandable why it's so visible. Nica, could you continue why you think it's so important? There's such a, well, for both of you, and you wanted to sharpen it. Why do you feel, how do you explain the importance of absence?
Well, because a lot of people who had made aliyah faced a situation they would never expected. And I mean, they came literally, like, especially Ukrainians, they came from one war to another. Russians came from repressions to another war. And this war is not ending. And we're at the threshold of another war. And this actually is a very strong factor, a factor of deciding whether to go or to stay. It is a factor in deciding where people would live. It is a factor in deciding which apartment would they rent, whether it has a mamad or it doesn't. And I mean, it is a very crucial, I mean, and I wrote a lot of relatives and friends who stayed back, say in Russia or Ukraine somewhere, they do not understand why those people who had just decided to move to Israel and still have a chance to move further, why they decide to stay in the country at war. And sometimes they sound very persuasive to many of the new alim. So I think it is a fact that makes Israel so different from the other countries where people had moved. And as I spoke to many other immigrants to many other places, people who are sitting, say, in Serbia, in Montenegro, in Thailand, they even though they have, some of them have Jewish roots, many of them say that it's unthinkable, it's unimaginable now for them to move to Israel because it's at war. So maybe inside the country, it's not that very well felt, but for people outside of the country, it seems like a totally catastrophic situation.
Yep, thank you very much. As Vera said, and also I think Varvara mentioned it, one explanation is that the work that was submitted, many of them were submitted even before 7 October. And many of them, like also, for example, my work, I've done it in 2022. So it's a reflection of migration with the war somewhere behind. And it's also very interesting in this case to remind you about what Boris said also about the invisibility of the future. So war probably seems to be something that is invisible, but at the same time, it's also an interesting question probably for us as curators, because each work cannot include everything that is experienced by the author. But for us as for curators, yes, it's already a combination, and I think we did not think about it in general. So we considered many other things when we created the combination of works. And at this point, I have another question for you, because you see, it's an exhibition about migration. And of course, there are lots of research about migration. And you as researchers or practitioners, because it's also for Boris, it's also like we talk about psychological problems. Do we expect from curators, from art people, that we have to, or we are expected to collaborate with researchers, not in the form of a public talk, but at the point when we only plan and create an exhibition? Or, well, it's a yes or no question. The more broader question is, how do you see, how can you imagine such a dialogue between science, social sciences, and art, when art touches social problems. What do you think about it?
First of all, I
Okay.
think
Okay.
Then Varvara and then Boris.
no, I think it's a good idea. About how can I imagine this dialogue? I think that this dialogue could be organized through the way of speaking about the pain, because when we do our academic research, we very often face with some very painful and sensitive moments, and trying to write about them, trying to explain them in academic formal style, we face with a lot of difficulties, because we need to speak about these sensitive topics, but not to be emotional ourselves, not to not to to show to the reader or to the listener their gaze from the outside. But I think that when we, if we could speak about it with artists, we could give to them this resource, this food for their further development of these painful points, of these triggers, of these sensitive moments in something which could engage listeners and readers and viewers, but not to be alienated from the feeling, from the emotion, and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. Boris, you wanted to answer?
The first to answer the previous question, what I didn't find. I didn't find the pictures how this broken apart soul create itself in the new wholeness, and how this Alim repatriants get the new picture. For example, that you told about the work of Helen Borowski, and you see it's very vague, very fragmental, and it remains fragmental and vague. And how the people who come here create the new whole picture and create new meanings for themselves. It's I think it's a good idea for another angle for the exhibition, because in artists' work it's very vivid and very emotional, and you don't need the words how to what to explain to explain how it's going on. So it's it's very good. It can be very good for people. And about the mutual cooperation between curators and scientists and people who work in practice. So it's, yes, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. And let me, and this combination is very, can be very interesting. Once I organized the discussion between a writer and philosopher about the immigration. It was about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago here. And the musician, pianist, was invited. And after parts of the discussion, and between the parts of the discussion, he improvised in piano, his reflections on the discussion. So it was very, very vivid combination in different levels of understanding the problems. And if you, it's only example, but it can be organized the activities like that, and it can be very powerful, I think.
Nice idea.
For example,
nice idea.
drawing reflections, or vice versa, and so on and so on. So it's a good idea to make it vivid.
Nice. Yeah. And it's a typical performance in general. It's very often done on the exhibitions in terms of public program. When artists create something live, I saw it several times. It's a bit different from what you mentioned, but it's also might be interesting. Nica, would you add something on collaboration? Like it might be because we are going to finish very soon, so it's kind of a conclusion remarks.
Yeah, I think it can be collaborative, like both ways, and maybe we can organize things when scholars present something about what they find, and artists kind of respond on that, because we think on the other way around, but I think it can be reversed. It can be also like when people hear about some generalizations and find their own patterns of how they live through their living experiences of what scholars are talking about, it can also bring us some very interesting artistic ideas. I just thought of this reversal. Thank you.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So we have kind of 7 minutes left because we plan to finish by half after 1 o'clock in Israel. It's Friday, the day before holiday, so people have to go to preparation for the Shabbat or to have other work done by the end of the week. So let us collect, if we have some questions from the audience, let us collect it now, and we'll see whether we have enough time to answer. But please, dear participants, feel free to raise your hand or write into chat and ask something if you would like to. And while you are thinking about questions, Vera? Yeah?
Very small about the first exhibition. Who've seen yet or will see the slideshow that I sent to the chat. In the first exhibition, we also did the connection of the general experience of immigration in Israel, that it's not just our experience, but for many generations. And we started from Ma'abarot, that it's from the 50s, like almost 80 years ago. It was the other immigrants here in Israel with their experience, and we also did connection to them with a couple of works. And in the opening on the first exhibition, we also did the other connection from, we're talking, it's the general and something that can be something in common for almost all Israelis. We also have the people that need to move inside the country now. I'm not sure if there's people outside of Israel maybe do not know this problem because of the war issue. There is like thousands of people like 9 months not leaving their homes and just in the hotels and some other places that country providing for them. As for now, and we were speaking about that they have also the same trauma issues, like not feeling their homes, not having their bed, their school, their work, just need to suddenly change it. So this is something to mention, the general immigration experience, that we connected it to exhibition from the beginning, and the issues from the people that are not in their cities now, also were moved.
Also refugees. Okay. As I used to say for my students, questions 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, final countdown. Do we have any bets on the table? In the chat, and as I said, don't hesitate to raise a hand and to comment, probably, or just turn your mic on and to comment. We still have a couple of minutes before our speakers have to go. But if not, I would like to thank our speakers to finding time and to speaking in English. As I said, we knew it will be challenging. Even we all work in English, still it's not our native language. And it's important that we can use it as a global language without translation. And we hope that art is also kind of a language that we can use without translation, speaking directly to our emotions and from experience of one person to another person. And then I hope that's it. We announce the finissage of Nomadic Souls, Semiotics of the Start, as 15th of July. We have a photo exhibition, one-day photo exhibition with stories in Hebrew. And then we are going to plan Nomadic Souls for Tel Aviv in somewhere in November. Hopefully nothing will, not another war will prevent us from doing the exhibition. And I thank you very kindly. Thank you very much. I appreciate a lot that you join us on Friday afternoon. Our meeting was recorded, so we will upload it to YouTube lately. And I hope more people will see it and find out something interesting about art and science. Entered the Zoom and talked a bit about art and science. Any concluding remarks, guys, before you say goodbye?
I wanted to say something, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I found this talk very interesting. Thank you very much. I'm a different type of artist. I am an artist of food, so I was happy to hear that you mentioned the connection with trauma and food, which we know is very connected. And I'm looking forward to more. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was
Okay.
very enjoyable.
Thank you.
you.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom. Have a nice weekend.
Bye bye.
And see you next
Shalom.
time. Bye.
Shabbat